Welcome to my life. Welcome to just being, just sitting out in nature. Yes, on a homemade picnic table, but just noticing the birds, noticing the insects, noticing the deer that's going by, and just being okay with silence, being okay with stillness, and realizing that when stimulation comes in, we as a human, we have different parts of our brain that we're able to use. So often, I see a lot of people not using their frontal cortex, and that's a hard part of the brain to use, because a lot of us are in our primal lower brain in the back of the head, and animals only have a primal brain. And when we're using our lower brain, that animalistic part of ourself, then stimulus comes in and we react. But if we choose to use our higher brain, something can happen to us, and we have that ability to reason, and we can respond. Stimulus comes in, we can have that moment of choice, and we can choose how we want to respond. A lot of people receive stimulus and they just stay in their lower brain and they act like an animal, and whatever comes out almost usually like an attack. And we are civil. So if we truly can be civil to ourselves, then as we live life, and then we're with someone else, because we've been spending time being civil to ourselves, then it becomes easy to be civil to others, because we take time for care, self-care. We take time to read a book or watch a YouTube that someone sent to us. And we take time to absorb, what's trying to be said, taught, expressed to us. And then we have that choice. We can assimilate the information. We can take it or leave it. And then we're able to know that we're coming from this space deep within ourselves of love. And if we're coming into this space of love for ourselves, that true love, not, look at me, I love myself, but that true love. And what I mean by, from my perspective, what I mean by that true love is, we're flesh, we're human, we've got a voice that starts crackling, and touch, feelings, 5 senses. And that's the human. We see, we smell, we taste, we touch, and we hear. And when we die, those senses, our body, doesn't exist anymore. But what will exist? And I feel that hopefully each individual has their way of thinking that, okay, when this physical thing dies, I die, and that's the end of it. Well, good luck there. Okay, so that's one way to, think. Okay, but now what about being instead of in the mind thinking? What about being? If there is eternity, if there is life after death, I feel that would be a being. And there's so many ways to think about a being that is much greater than ourselves. And there's a million religions that will try to educate. And putting religion aside, what is being? What is our being? So when we meditate, a beginner meditator would have to, maybe look at something, maybe smell something, maybe taste something, maybe listen to something, maybe they have to touch something, maybe an animal or a soft something. And maybe that's the only way they can calm down is by using their senses, something that's outside of their true being. And when we get in touch with that trueness that will exist forever, in my, I guess it's a belief. So if we want to calm down, like this morning when I was teaching my yoga class to a newbie, new to meditation and yoga. And it was time for deep relaxation. I've been teaching her for, 6 months or so. And I thought, it's time that we take this a little deeper into a more of a way of being. So during deep relaxation, I brought in some meditation techniques. And so I asked her, your identity, who are you, what makes you you? Is it that the house that you live in? Is it the car that you drive? It's the clothes that you wear. And we were able to have an understanding, she was able to have an understanding that those are outside things. Well, I kept asking questions, which the answer is no, we are not our house. No, the trueness of who we are isn't made up by the car that I drive. No, yeah, it's not made up by the clothes that I wear. Well, then it's made up by your thoughts. And of course she agreed. Yeah, that's who I am, is my thoughts. But wait a minute. Our house, our clothing, our thoughts is all external. It's all outside. A meditation word is gross. It's big. Something outside of us is big. Gross. So what's the opposite of gross? Subtle. So we look for that subtleness. How do we find that subtleness that exists within everybody? Do we want to find it? A lot of people have no interest in even knowing that it exists. But when we take time, quiet time, to come in contact with the subtleness, yeah, and you might have to begin by noticing the subtleness of a beautiful day. Oh, the weather, it's so nice. How many people talk about the weather and how they like the weather, don't like the weather? And, that's their way of intimately connecting with someone else by talking about the weather. And that's something, the weather is something gross. And I don't mean, well, like maybe I do mean bad right now. Um, but gross meaning, it's outside of ourself. It is one of the sensations. Weather gives us the sensations. And I said earlier, we do have our five senses. And if you want to begin the meditation practice, start somewhere. Start by trying to observe your five senses. And that can be a huge undertaking for someone that's always type A personality, someone that's always running, going, chasing, thinking, reading, doing. If they slow down and just notice their sensations, that can be a huge, oh, wow, I had a great meditation because I noticed what I was listening to. Yeah, that can be a huge undertaking. And then once we begin with consistency and we keep practicing meditation, we realize that there's something much subtler deep within, underneath the senses. And we're able to then realize what is our true purpose in life. If we realize what our true purpose in life, and how many people, oh my God, try to find their purpose in life. How many people know what their purpose in life, and they're telling you that you have to have the same purpose because I found my purpose and I am going to share my purpose with you. So here goes. Okay, I need a spoon. I got to gag myself. I just find that, well, sometimes it's not offensive because, of course, most people have their heart in the right place, and they went through something, and because they went through it and they got through the other side, they need to talk to someone else about it so they can get through it easier than maybe the person that got through it. And there's all value. I'm not saying there's no value with that. And there is value in life. And isn't value something external? Something that we value. It's outside of ourselves. Like I'm trying to be consistent with my trainings, my movements, my, I don't want to say working out, but that's what it is. And I'm reaching out and I'm saying, hey, if I'm not sending you my workout log, check in with me. So that's something external. And, I'm reaching out for accountability, and people are there for me. And now I did lose my train of thought. So back to meditating and finding that true self, that true essence. And I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I kind of am feeling a little muddled. But I do want to finish by saying meditation can be so pure. Meditation can be so deep. And then we say, oh my gosh, but I have the hardest time meditating because my mind does what my mind does. A brain is designed to work, to be effective, to be continuous, at least from my experience. And it's where we get in touch with that subtleness. And when we get in touch with that subtleness, then when we want to share something with someone else, maybe we've gone through something and we want to share how we went through it so that someone else can have an easier time with it, because that's our passion and this is how we're going to share it with the world. And then maybe that person is still seeking and expressing outwardly while they still seek inwardly. And sometimes I sense that a lot from others, that, they're expressing what they're learning, which is it's great to express what you're learning. That helps the brain. But now what about meditation and letting all of that go? And yes, the brain can be overactive. And when the brain is overactive and we want to sit and meditate, then we say, oh, I can't, I think too much. But to me, the brain is in my head, and the thinking is in my head. And, I have a physical heart that, thank God, is pumping blood. But I have an energetic heart as well. And that, to me, is where love comes from. That is where the eternity of oneness is, which I'll say eternity of oneness instead of saying God. And if that eternity of oneness is an energetic heart, then that can become so expansive. And then when we're aware of being within that expansive space, then we realize, oh, I love that word, real eyes. So we have eyes that can be real, that they can see, they can realize. So when we have real eyes, when we're meditating within that expansive space, whatever is being thought in the head, as long as we're not sitting there, forcing ourselves to think about something, because we can force ourselves to think about something inside of our head. We can be aware of thoughts, popping into our head. And I'm sure there's a million different ways that, the brain does stuff. But if we can notice that we're inside of the expansiveness of all that is one, then we realize that the brain energetically is doing stuff, but we don't have to be aware of what it's doing. And only practice that during meditation. Because, of course, we need our brain. We need to remember, like when we drive somewhere new, and then we need to remember how to drive, back home. And math, that's our brain. Well, nowadays we have so many devices, we don't even have to know math. But we can use our brain for math and all types of other calculations. And my lovely partner, Joseph, he's using his brain. He's building a building, and he's doing, I don't know what the words are, circumference, but I forget, what is that? Geometry? It's more than algebra. What's the one after algebra? Maybe it is geometry. So that's that. That's being in the head, which is important, and we need that. Otherwise, when we go to the grocery store, we'll forget what we wanted to get. Well, then we end up just writing it down on a list and looking at the list and not using our brain. So, back to meditating. Meditation. Practice meditation. Even if it's for 20 seconds. Just taking a deep breath in and exhaling and having that awareness that you took a deep breath in and exhaled. That can be your 1, maybe 2 seconds of meditation. Hopefully your breath is maybe 10 seconds long. I love you.